top 6 spots remain the same. Georgia 1, Michigan 2, Ohio State 3, Florida State 4, Washington 5, Oklahoma 6. But the distance between Georgia and Michigan is as close as it's been all year. 1,536 voting points to 1,504 voting points as Michigan picks up a few more first-place votes. Florida State picked up additional first-place votes. Ohio State picked up additional first-place votes as well. Georgia, you didn't even play, and your stock is dropping. That's kind of the way it goes with these AP voters. Further down in the rankings, an expected drop for Penn State, not too far though, just from 7 to 10. North Carolina, after taking its first loss of the season, a horrendous loss, falls from 10 to 17. Duke, Tennessee, they were both on the road as underdogs against conference foes that were higher ranked. They remained in the top 25. And why is USC ranked?
Because there's nobody worthy of putting him in their place. That's really it.
Why is USC is 6-2 overall? Its best wins are against 4-3 Arizona and 4-3 Colorado.
But who are you going to tell me who's going? Who 100% deserves to be ahead of them?
7-0 Liberty.
Well, if you're going to say USC's best wins are this, who's Liberty's best win?
It ain't Middle Tennessee.
Exactly. So it's like they're undefeated. Yeah.
I think it's handling Jack State.
That's probably the best win
on the road. Yeah.
Yeah. Oklahoma State has better wins. Kansas and Kansas State, I would say back to back, are better wins.
Oklahoma's loss is pretty bad.
Okay, South Alabama and
scoreless, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Just anything else from the AP Top 25 that stands out in terms of the adjustments?
I didn't think there's anything egregious. I feel like it was a bad loss, so I understand it. I don't think North Carolina should have fallen as far as it did. It's down to 17 behind Mizzou. I like Mizzou. I don't know that Mizzou's a better team than North Carolina or deserves to be ranked ahead of them, although they do have that win over Kansas State. Other than that, I mean, the only thing I saw that made me amused is one voter had Florida at 17. Which I thought was kind of nuts. But other than that, I don't really have too many heavy thoughts on this week's poll.
Yeah, I think we are getting a little bit closer to power rating in these polls somewhat. It's not always a bad thing. It's just it is a shift that I'm noticing here. Importantly, I think we are doing a pretty good job of not punishing teams who lose when they are already underdogs. Right? Like, you already expected them to lose,
right?
And then they do lose. That's like Oregon not being lower than they are. I think is a pretty good sign of that. Utah has a better resume than Ole Miss, I think, at this point, and should be ahead of Ole Miss.
Ole Miss
they blasted Florida. They went on the road and beat USC. They lost, when their stuff was really in flux at Oregon State. They beat UCLA. They beat Cal. Like, Ole Miss's resume does not match up to this.
Tulane and LSU, and that's what they've got.
And Tulane with the backup in the game they struggled with.
Tulane and LSU, like that Tulane
the Louisiana double,
Yeah, that's right. So I agree with you. We made the offhanded joke on Saturday night. It's like, will someone beat Ole Miss, please? But they have wins against LSU and Tulane, which are both, still stacking wins on wins on wins. Their only loss is to Alabama, which continues to look good. If you're a one-loss team from the SEC West with those wins and that's your only loss, it's going to be really tough to push you down. So 7-point win, 3-point win, 20-point win, whatever it was going to be against Auburn, a win sort of keeps Ole Miss in that same conversation. But especially coming off the USC victory, I think your Utah point is fair.
We do need to discuss the lone team which dropped out.
Oh, the only team that dropped out. All right, let's check in on our beloved Hawkeyes. All right, bud.
All right.
Are we discussing these points? Iowa, the only team that dropped out. Congratulations to James Madison, by the way. James Madison gets into the rankings. The second ever ranking for the Dukes. Last year was the first one. Unfortunately, they lost their next 3 games. Let's not do that again. ODU comes to town this Saturday for the Dukes to put their top 25 ranking on the line. Bud, what we got?
So, unfortunately, and I'm still keeping the faith on this, but Iowa needed to score 30 on Minnesota, and it only scored 10. Probably should have scored 17 if they don't call that, illegal fair catch signal there. So I have to redistribute the points just like the government, and I got 20 to redistribute this week amongst the 5 assumed remaining games. So we're going to need 35 this weekend at Northwestern. Could be an issue, but I think that is theoretically possible, right? Iowa's defense could create enough negative situations against this Northwestern offense, which is truly horrid, to maybe put them in some good situations. 34 at home against Rutgers. Rutgers already bowl eligible. Congrats to Rutgers. Again, maybe Rutgers overlooks Iowa, right? Because they're already bowl eligible, but they're not really eligible to win anything else. Maybe they could get some short fields there. Illinois, 34 at home in Kinnick. It's unlikely, but guys, Illinois could self-destruct here. We have seen them do so and give them a bunch of short fields. Nebraska is down to 3 true freshman receivers and a walk-on at receiver. So if Iowa somehow got up and Nebraska had to pass a lot, maybe you get 3 or 4 short field touchdowns. And in the bowl game, we're going to need either Iowa, Colorado, Iowa, USC with a bunch of opt-outs, Iowa, Utah State. I'm trying to think really bad defenses, which could be bowl eligible.
The numbers that you have on the screen right now, 35, 34, 34, 31, 35, is you are full Kyrie right now. This is a flat earth proposition.
It's possible. If we start getting up in the 50s or 60s, I may really – I'm still going to do the bit because the chat loves the bit. It's great for social. But, oh, my God.
Go ahead.
No, in a cruel twist of fate, if you follow Parker's chart on Twitter, did we really get beat this bad? Iowa actually had a higher success rate than Minnesota did and lost.
How the turntables.
But their quarterback had a 30.1 grade from PFF, and I don't know that I've seen a starting QB grade that badly.
Did hit one really nice throw on the sideline, though. That got him a 1st and goal, and that was the biggest mistake.
It was so we had the over, so I was watching that closely. Well, unfortunately, I had to sit through that. I feel like it's at the point, and I'm trying to think of the other quarterbacks that felt like this, but you just have to get him out there. I think it was Jeff Sims at Nebraska. You just have to get him off the field. You can't keep putting somebody out there that is that inept. It's going to ruin their entire career because they need a breather. That's where I got to the point with Deacon Hill. I was like, this is bad. You can see it on his face. You can see him struggling. At one point, the broadcasters were like, well, he's making better decisions. He's still not hitting anybody, but at least he's throwing it in the right direction. And when you hear an analyst say that, it's not a great sign.
What career is he going to ruin by playing more football? Financial analyst, insurance salesman? Maybe he's gonna, I don't know. Maybe he's in AI or graphic arts.
It's bad.
Yeah,
it's bad.
Do you think? I don't know. I think Brian's gonna go back to the NFL, and thus Kirk won't have to fire his son or fail to rehire. But
if Belichick's out, who's going to hire him?
I mean, look, Kirk's got a million NFL connections. Now that the lawsuit's over, I bet you he can go get an NFL tight ends coach job or analyst job. He can't enjoy this. I mean, the money's great. Obviously, he's making close to $1 million, but there's no way this is fun.
That's definitely something that you have to take into consideration, though the definition of fun for the Ferentz family is, kind of up for debate. I don't know if it always falls in line with our shared values, and we'll see.